from an ordinary summer. Tide pools. Perhaps the next time you find yourself near a pool of water deposited by the tides, you'll find yourself thinking about the essence of the tidal pool. The tidal pool or tidal zone, the section where land meets sea, is found in that ever-shifting arena between the highest of the high tides and the lowest of the low tides. It is an ecosystem which cubic yard for cubic yard contains the richest source of nutrients and minerals on the planet. Writer Paul van de Velde calls a tidal zone a primordial world, where the first ticks of biological time were measured. A billion years later, the ebb and flow of these tides are still what govern here. A tidal pool is a place in which everything and everyone eats and drinks and loves and dies. It may also be described as the testing ground for the species, the giant mixing bowl of life. This life still exists today primarily because of its ability to adapt to the elements which have at times been fierce. Change, for this earliest and most durable crucible of life, has become the norm rather than something to be resisted or fought. Failure to adapt has meant death and destruction. Untold life forms existing 500 million years ago may still be found in a tidal zone. All these years later, Van de Velde continues, give or take a million, the fact that the salinity of our blood, of our perspiration, of our tears is the very same as the mixture found in a tidal pool is as imponderable as galaxies glimpsed by Hubble and as sobering as a church picnic. In sharing what would become our own blood and tears and toil, this pool, this genesis of life, has effectively extended her horizons to include us, human beings. It seems to have been God's plan all along, the mark of a God who creates in his infinite wisdom and glorious expansion. The salt of our own blood, sweat, and tears, the stuff of life, forming the very same mixture as that which has been since the world began. We are but a mist. We are but dust, and to dust we shall return. We are but pilgrims here, travelers along this road, visitors upon this earth, our island home, meant to coexist, bearing and sharing the burdens of one another. Perhaps in part that is why so many of us are drawn to this land where the tides rise and fall, in which tidal pools abound, and the force of all life is ever before us and around us. A tidal pool expands and contracts, just like the lungs of life that they are, ever-changing, always shifting in flux and motion, constantly being refined, much like the church, the body of Christ, much like the very life of a Christian. The alternative to a tide pool is a bucket of water, stagnant water, which goes nowhere, serving as breeding ground for mosquitoes, which can threaten to suck the very lifeblood out of us. Which is preferable? Stagnation and ultimately destruction, decay and death, or movement? The life force of pools created by tides, the place where life began and is and ever shall be. The place wherein the juices of our own beings may now be found after, lo, these many years, commingling in ever-shifting sand and marvelously muddy waters. Such are we. Such is the church in all her disarray, in all her glory.